Hello, everybody. Welcome to the XP Billionaires podcast, the only podcast that makes you say, hey, those are the XP Billionaires. I am Rayfe and I am joined by Sky Knight today. Unfortunately, the Melzerker has had some issues and will not be able to join us this week, but rest assured, she will be back. So don't worry, you'll get plenty of Melzerker coming for you in the future. But in the meantime, Sky, I already know how you're doing because, I live with you and all, but why don't you tell everybody else how you're doing today?
I'm good. Not too much to report here. I've been taking a little break from gaming for the most part, but I'm looking to get back at it soon. Just been distracted by other things.
Oh, that happens. I mean, we all have real lives and we've got to do our best to balance gaming and those lives at the same time. I mean, sadly, I can't say the same. I have found a new obsession, and it is new Pokemon Snap. Oh my God. I'm reliving my days of really bad Pokemon photography on the N64, and it's just so much better and so much fun. I've been really, really enjoying it. All these little extra things that you can do to get the Pokemon's attention have been really cool. The editing features are really fun. Although nobody's liking my photos. So if you guys are out there, check out my Twitter, Billionaires XP. Check it out. I've put up a couple of really fun photo edits. Please, find them, like them. I think they're awesome, and I hope you guys do too.
Yeah, and rest assured, I'm sure I will be playing that the instant you're done with it. So because it looks adorable, and I missed out on the original Pokemon Snap. So
yeah, we should do something about that. At least get you emulating it or something, because oh my God, that first one was great. All right, so well, we're gonna jump right in today. We've got a top three for you this week, and we have decided that for this top three, we're gonna take a look at our picks for the top three games with great art direction. So, without that kind of vision, a game just isn't as special as it could be. And there are some really, really great styles out there that I think they need to be recognized. So, not only are we going to mention the game with that unique style, but I think it would be wrong of us not to mention the art director for that game as well. So, we're going to give you the name of the game and the art director with our top three this week. So, let's get right into it. Now, you guys are probably sick of me talking at this point, so I am going to let Sky start things off. What is your number three game with great art direction?
it's actually two games technically, but it's the Bat and Kaitos duology. Okay, it's like the same art style, the same art director, same world. So Yasuyuki Hone of Monolith Soft. Now, I will preface this by saying that literally any Monolith Soft game could be on my list because they're pretty much all freaking gorgeous and have fantastic art direction. But Batten Kaitos is so wild and colorful, and parts of the world are so different from one another, and yet also, unique and interesting, that when you put it all together, it creates this world that just almost defies description. There's so much variety, and I think that's really cool because it makes it feel it makes it feel more real in a lot of ways, because that's, the reality of the world we live in is that it is huge and varied and, has so many different aspects to it. But I mean, this is also a world where people have wings that are manifestations of their souls. So, like, it starts with that premise and then just runs with it in all sorts of crazy ways. Like, there's areas where you're walking through crowds. There's a town that has basically looks like the witch's house in Hansel and Gretel. And there's a place that looks like a gothic children's storybook. And like it just it's just so wild, but it does make sense in the context. And plus, these games are just gorgeous still today, despite being on the GameCube. Like, I cannot believe what an achievement these were, and it's such a shame that they never got the attention they deserved. And if they announced a remaster, I would fall over. I would love to have these on modern systems.
I completely agree. Now, I don't remember if the project was scrapped or not, but I do remember that once upon a time there was plans to port the game to either the DS or the 3DS. I can't remember if it was Origins or the original, but that was the plan. I think they scrapped it, and I don't remember if that's the case or if it was just released in Japan and we never got it.
Yeah, I don't particularly remember either, though that does ring a bell to me. Regardless, I mean, why would you play it on a DS system? Like, these are games that beg to be played on a TV. And even then, like, even for the time, like the scope of the graphics, like there were times where you struggled to see because there was just so much detail and so much interesting stuff to look at where you're just like, where do I put my eyes, right? But never so much so that it made the game unplayable. Um, it's one of the reasons why this is like one of the top. These are some of the top games I would want remastered because on set up for modern TVs, with modern high definition, oh, it would be glorious. It would be glorious, and they deserve it because they're excellent games. And part of that is just in how beautiful they are, not just graphically for their time, but you know, artistically, like everything is placed with such care.
And like I can speak to the first game, but and I played enough of the second game to know that style was still there, but it's one I never did get to complete. I just wasn't enjoying the combat system as much as I enjoyed the first one, so it kind of just became a bit of a problem for me. So I don't know. But I mean that's not what we're here talking about, so that's a completely separate issue.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like Origins is a slightly prettier game, but that's only because it came out later.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Alrighty, so we'll move on to my number three next. And believe it or not, it's not my number one game, but on my number three, I have chosen Rogue Galaxy, my favorite game of all time. Well, my favorite RPG, I should say. Now, this one had what art direction by a man named Takeshi Majima, and he was with Level 5. So, I first off, this is going to be really weird for me referring to the name Majima without making a Yakuza reference. So let's just start there. I'm just getting that out of the way. But what he did was created a galaxy with several very diverse planets, and each one was just stunning to look at. Like even my least favorite out of all of the planets, Juraika, which was a jungle planet, felt special. It you could tell just from how it looked that it had stories to tell, secrets to be discovered. It was just beautiful vistas. So from the jungle planet to the modern looking planet of Zerard to I don't even remember all the planets names, but you've also got an old mining town on a planet. It was based. You had the Alistia, which was the water resort, the beach area, which was really beautiful and pretty to explore. I know I'm missing some, but the fact of the matter is that you felt like each planet developed in its own different way, and each time you would go to a different place, and so you had to go back and forth all the time. Thankfully, that was really easy to do, but it was a feast for the eyes to watch. And between that and kind of the cell shaded graphics for the characters, it was really just a vivid, colorful feast for the eyes. And I've only played the PS2 version. I know of the HD upscale that was done for the PS4. I have yet to try it or play it. I have to be in the mood to play the game again, and then I will buy it. But I mean, even then, on the PS2, it was stunning. Even a little bit of upscaling will just make that crisper, make that nicer. So yeah, that's my choice for number three.
It's similar to what they later did with Ni no Kuni, just in terms of the general look and feel, just without that Ghibli influence, right? And they nailed it the first time out of the park. And in fact, I think it's a prettier game than Ni no Kuni is. It's one of the most timeless games I think I've ever seen in terms of its graphics. You could see it made today and you'd consider it pretty. Like it might not be the most graphically complicated thing in the world, but it's beautiful. And really, that's the more important part. Make it a feast for the eyes. Not everything has to be like super 3D, be able to see the characters' pores. Yes, I am ribbing on certain games that will not be named. Um, but yeah, no, the overall effect is just amazing.
It is, and it was smart because the game was released during kind of the tail end of the PS2's life cycle. So they really, really were able to pour everything they had learned into this. Now, Ayano was also responsible for the art direction of other level 5 titles such as Dark Cloud and Dark Cloud 2. So they already had some practice with the PS2. So they took what they learned from there and just put it into a much more beautiful looking game. So yeah, overall, a great, great look. Highly recommended again to anybody who hasn't had a chance. PS2, PS4 does not matter where you play it. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. All right, so let us move on to the number two choices. And Sky, you're taking the reins. What is your number two choice for game with great art direction?
So, my number two choice is something that is about to be re-released.
And we're waiting with bated breath.
And it's Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. Yes, Kazuma Kaneko from Atlas. I'm sorry, Persona fans. This is Kazuma Kaneko's best work. Bar none. The atmosphere is so creepy and perfect, and the character design is so good, but simple, but so striking. Like the protagonist alone with the creepy ass tattoos, and the fact that he's barefoot. Like what? Um, and they really nail making making a post-apocalyptic setting interesting, yet still broken and barren and, you know, ruined, right? To me, this is the pinnacle of the Shin Megami Tensei style and feel. Creepy, but not horror, really. Depending on atmosphere and music and, you know, just overall excellent quality. Yes, this. It's visually spectacular in a really strange way, despite being PS2, right? Originally. But again, it's that cel shaded style which ages really well. I can't wait till it comes out and more people get to play it. Like it's just such a superb game. I mean, it's brutally hard, yes, but I mean, you get in there and you sink into the experience and it's just like, oh my god. Like it sucks you right in a way that more than any of those other games have. And I mean, I really do think like those PS2 games, like definitely Nocturne, but also Digital Devil Saga and whatnot, to a lesser extent, just really nailed that creepy feel without making it unpalatable to people who don't like horror.
Yeah, it is. And there's one other thing that I think really, really kind of spoke out to me about that game. And this is the weird thing it was the world map traveling. Now, in a post-apocalyptic setting, you usually get, those terrible browns, those, we've talked about this before, like those colors just and you kind of get that here, but it is animated with just a different tint. And it made traveling, even though you were just this little like the equivalent of a game of life character, those little pegs you put in the car is essentially what you were traveling around the world map throughout it. But just what you were traveling through, and you also had to go through parts of ruined Japan as you did it. So you'd have to cross a highway, or you'd have to, traverse under a bridge, or see all these other things that are kind of happening in there. So that really spoke to me in that, like, they didn't just make it some bland desert or just regular, like, what we see nowadays. Instead of world map travel, you just get menus. Where do you want to go? And that world map was just something special.
There are a couple of things that really spoke to me personally visually about it. And the big one was the mannequins.
Oh
Like
yeah.
these doll like people. Oh, and they twitched in weird ways. And I've spoken about them before, and they're just like they kind of fill out the need for NPCs here and there because like there's almost no humans left. The protagonist isn't even fully human anymore. And
I don't think anyone at least finishes human by the end of it.
yeah, and then there's the three, four other survivors.
Give or take, yeah.
Yeah, I can. It's been years, but and I really loved the use of oranges and reds, and
Yeah.
particularly in like the Labyrinth of Amala, and just to give it that sort of creepy, but not gothic, not horror-ish vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, we are going to my number two choice. Now, this is one that I kept a secret from our lists because I wanted to surprise Sky in the fact that I am playing this game. And I haven't played too much of it, but I found that its art style and art direction, and I know Sky's going to agree with me that this is an excellent choice. And the game I am secretly playing, and this is your surprise,
Oh my
is,
goodness.
is The Alliance Alive.
Yes!
The art direction is by Masayo Asano. And like I said, I only just started playing the game. I've gotten through the first main plot, I guess the prologue, if you will. So I've kind of gotten through the first dungeon.
So the museum, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I've done that, but just the first town in this game, it proved to me that this is going to be a beautiful game. I had seen snippets, I had seen what little Sky got to play, but you played it mostly portably, so I didn't get to see a whole lot, which is fine. Um, but the town, it looked like it came right out of a pop-up storybook. Like I am playing, well, we both played the HD remaster that came out for the Switch just recently, but a year or two ago, and I'm kind of regretting not trying it out on the 3DS because I wonder if the environments would have been rendered if I had turned the 3D on to feel more like a pop-up book.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I only played the beginning of it on the 3DS because I played the demo, right? And then I realized, oh, I didn't get to keep what I saved, so I didn't end up and then I got distracted, so I didn't end up playing more of it on the 3DS, and then I heard about the remaster on the Switch. But yeah, that sort of storybook style that that it has is really cute and really was something that worked well on the original system it came out on. That slightly chibified story, children's storybook style,
Hmm.
while still being like having a fairly intense story. There's some pretty intense moments in the Alliance Alive. Um, and it was written by Yoshitaka Murayama, who wrote Suikoden, because so I fan me over this. Um, but it's really cool, and by keeping it in this simple style too, it made them more able to make it a rich, full experience in other ways. Like there's so many ways to get around in the Alliance Alive. The further you get through the game, like there's some really interesting ways to travel and places to explore and whatnot. They give you a lot of freedom after a certain point in the game, and it's really cool. So it definitely, that sort of simplistic art style really suited the game mechanically as well.
Oh, absolutely. Like I haven't even gotten to do much more than running at this point, but I remember you showing me a couple of things like that, the equivalent of the hang glider. Don't tell me more about it. I'll figure it out once I'm finally finished New Pokemon Snap and I go back to playing it. But yeah, like I'm just like it looks really good, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what the rest of the game looks like. So yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah, wait till you see the ducky robot. It's so awesome.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so we are down to our number one choices, our top picks for games with great art direction. Now, before we give out ours, I do want to take a moment to point out the one choice that the Melzerker had made for this topic before letting us know that she couldn't make it. So her choice was Disco Elysium. I don't know what place she would have put that in, but knowing her, I'm sure she was thinking about it for the number one spot. So I don't disagree. I think it's a fantastic choice from what I've played of it so far. For something that's an isometric top down, there is a lot to look at. And I think that was pretty awesome.
It's a really cool looking game, despite the fact that it is a very sort of bleak world. Yeah, I thought they did a really good job on that. Making it look interesting, yet still keeping with that bleak style, similar to what I was talking about with Nocturne, like they managed to make sort of, this isn't necessarily post-apocalyptic, but it's fairly dystopian. We'll say the step before post-apocalyptic.
So apocalyptic.
Ha ha. Ha
You know,
ha.
just
Okay,
saying.
pre-apocalyptic then.
Well, no, the apocalypse happens in like the first half hour. It's semantics, I'm sure. All right. Well, that being said, we've gotten that one done. Sky, what is your number one choice for a game with great art direction?
So my number one choice is dun da da da. It's Hades. I know everyone waxes poetic about this game, but it's for good reason for once. So the art director is Gen Z from Supergiant Games, um, and it blew my mind. It blew my mind with its art direction, the vibrant colors, the little details, the consistently glorious artwork, both in the environments and the character portraits. It's all lovely, and they lovingly render these characters from Greek mythology in ways that make sense and are interesting in their own right. Nothing's overlooked. And even when you make run after run, you notice new things all the time. Partially because it's randomized to a certain extent, right? But also the fact that there is just so much to see and enough variations in there that even when you make like dozens of runs, as it took me to finish the game, you notice new things a lot. And one of the best things about it too is that this game is going to always look good. That 2D art style is absolutely timeless, and the animation is so fluid.
Everything you showed me of it looks phenomenal. I'll get my crack at it at some point.
Yeah, it's truly spectacular how nice this game looks and how well animated it is, and how, I mean, everything about it's great. Like the mechanics are great. Everything about the gameplay is great. Like it all fits together in this beautiful package. And and there's 4 areas of the underworld that you go through, and not including the House of Hades, which is where you start. And they're all really distinct from one another, but still make sort of sense. It makes sense in a sort of, underworld context, right? And the House of Hades is really cool because as you're trying to make these runs out to get out of the underworld, you're also upgrading the House of Hades as you go, so that you're so they give you all these tools to actually improve your starting point and make it more beautiful. Like you can decorate, you can play different music, you can there's all these interesting NPCs to interact with, and all their designs are really good too. Like this is one of the modern classics. It really is. And part of that is how glorious it looks.
Absolutely. All right, we're down to my number one. You guys ready for it? Because I know I am. So my number one choice is Code Vein, and that comes from the art direction of Koichi Itakura. And I chose this game as my number one for one simple reason. It did what needed to be done about post-apocalyptic worlds, and we've already said it. Added color, very important. This was a world with very, very vibrant and bright oranges in the sky. The vistas were interesting. I remember a beautiful background shot I took a photo of when I played the game, and I thought it was just stunning. But at the same time, like the colors still portrayed a terrifyingly bleak and dismal atmosphere. And that, that's the kind of thing like a Souls like needs to have. But Dark Souls is always this grimdark fantasy style, whereas this is, grimdark anime vampire style, which I guess is two different things. But it was just very, very, very beautiful to wander through a wrecked city. And I don't think I've ever played a game where that's been something as enjoyable. So yeah,
Ye-
that's really the reason I take number one. But sorry.
I will say something about Code Vein. I have not played it, but I've seen some of what Rafe has played. And I think a big part of what Code Vein did well visually was the lighting.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
so tired of grimdark games where you can't see shit.
Yeah, even the areas that felt like they were supposed to be dark, like if you were underground, like it was lit well enough that one, you could at least see where you were going, even if something was around the corner trying to kill you. So yeah, that worked out really well. And that I think was just I think there was a lot of really good planning and set up for this. And I have yet to see a Souls like do something similar. The Surge comes pretty close, but that's mostly because they allow for a more modern setting with daytime and sunlight and whatnot. And it's
There's
really
a
kind of a
difference.
cordoned off area. But I still think Code Vein does it better.
There's a difference between mood lighting and no lighting.
True enough.
Or minimal lighting, or whatever you want to call it. And I actually have this problem with a lot of Western games to begin with. Brighten your shit up. God. And I've complained about Western games not being nearly colorful enough, but they're also often not lit well enough either. And that makes a big difference.
It does. So, like, in conclusion, like, the only gripe I had about some of the art direction is that maybe the women characters needed a little bit more to wear. But beyond that, this is just the most beautiful looking hard game I've ever played. So it takes number one for that reason more than anything else. So on that note, I think that's our top threes that we have decided upon, plus the I'm assumingly top choice for Mel. We'll get confirmation about that for next time. Hopefully, she'll be able to join us. But let us know, like, what are some great games or great art directors that you know of that we should take a look at? Several ways for you to get a shout to us. You can contact us through our group email, xpbillionaires@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on social media. You can find me on Twitter at billionairesxp or at Rayfe on Instagram. Sky, where can everyone find you?
I'm at SkyKnightXP on Twitter and SkyKnight.xp on Instagram.
And even though she's not here, make sure to check out Mel. She's at Feminist Gamer on Instagram and Feminist Gamer 3 on Twitter. And don't forget to check out her show, D4 Adventures, on Twitch, which streams every Wednesday night. So make sure you check all of that out. And next up, don't forget to check out our website, xpbillionaires.ca. It is your one-stop shop for everything XP Billionaires. Written work, quick-fire reviews, the weekly writing roundup. I know RPG was in there somewhere. I am still working on getting that right. I will.
The weekly RPG writing roundup.
There we go. All right. That is available. And don't forget to check that out. Sky does a lot of really good research in finding the best articles for you guys to check out. And also, if you're feeling generous and want to help donate to us, help out the group, you can do that through our coffee page, and the links are at the website, xpbillionaires.ca. All right, so that is going to be it for us. And don't forget, looks may not be everything, but they sure as hell help you keep gaming. So watch for them, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.